All right, another video because I have updated our teleporting system. So this is our old one. It was very, very large. I think it was like 16 by 16 by 37. The new system is a lot smaller. I think it's 16 by 12 by 20. So we shaved off a ton off the top, and I also was able to shave off, I think, 4 blocks in the front here. We're not using as much, not as many droppers. So the way that the old one worked was essentially when you made a selection, it would send 3 different signals serially, one after another. And then the receiver would receive each of the 3 signals to unlock a combination lock and unlock your stasis chamber. The new version does the exact same thing, but in a very, very different way. So if I make a selection here, it sends off 2 signals in this first 2 layers, and that basically is equivalent to that whole first row before. Before, you had to have a different signal for every station that you were using. In the new system, because I have a whole different protocol that I'm using, you can use the same signal for each station. So the first signal, no matter what station you select, is always going to be these 2. The new protocol also only needs to dispense 1 item. The old one needed to dispense 3, so that's how you only have 1 dropper here rather than multiple rows from before. So it sends off these first ones, and then it goes to this middle section where it sends off the unique one based off of whatever station you chose. This is basically the same thing as the second layer before. Same thing, it just will depend on which station you picked as to which one it goes off. And then this third layer is basically the same thing as these 2 rows right here. So same thing as the first one, we were able to compact a whole row into just 2 slices. Another difference between the old one and the new one when it comes to sending them is before we have 120 different tile sets total. Before we had 9 slices per station that we wanted, or per station, yeah. So we basically would have, so for example, the red station, we would have 1 tile set right here, 1 tile set right here, 1 tile set right here, and then the receiving end, you would need 2, 4, 6, so 9 total per station. In the new one, you only need 2. So it went from 9 tile sets all the way down to 2, which means that we also have way more stations that we can use if we want. There's 120 total. Divide that by 9, you only end up with 13 total possible stations. The new one, by default, I only have it set up for 12 because that's what fits within 1 chunk. But if you wanted to use more, I have a 2 chunk version, or a 3 chunk version, or a 4 chunk version if you wanted to use all 57 now as the total theoretical max. There's 120. These last ones are reserved. This is the signal start one. This is the signal end one. So the last 2 are occupied, and then this one is now reserved as a reference for the receiver. So 60 total possible combinations minus 3 end up with 57. So you can have up to 57 stations if you really want to. This is only single player, so I guess it works in multiplayer, but it's mostly useful in single player. I don't know if you would really need all 57 stations, but if you do, it works. But with this video, we're just going to talk about this station. It works the same as all the other ones, so just easier for me to kind of demonstrate with this one. This one will only set up for 12. So yeah, each one of these, basically the receiver will receive this first row on any given station. So for the red station, it's receiving this one. And then when you make a selection, it's just outputting the one right after it. So only need these 2 per station. I guess that is also another advantage compared to before. Whenever you're setting up a new station, the only thing you need to change is this tile set right here. Before, you had to change all 6 of these. So if I were to set up like an orange or yellow station, I would have to change all of these repeaters and comparators. Now it's just this 1 row of 6 right here. The old one, you had 2 dispensing, 2 dispensing, 2 dispensing, and it would just see if they were synced up or not. With the new one, there's now a reference channel, and the system is always checking when this reference block is dispensed. And it's basically seeing, are any of these synced up timing-wise to the reference? And if they are, that's what sends off a positive signal chain. The old system, 3 signals, set up a combination lock, activate this. This is the exact same thing on this one. It's the same combination lock and everything. And then we just get our signal from that, goes over here, stasis chamber. On the previous one, I didn't quite explain what is in the containers, so I'll go ahead and do that one now. For all of these down here, I use an unstackable item, like a wooden shovel or shears or something. You can kind of use whatever you want as long as the one next to it can't stack with it. So if you wanted to use even just like cobblestone or something in here, totally fine. Just make sure that the one next to it does not also have cobblestone. So alternate back and forth if you want to use stackable items. I just use wooden shovels because it's easier. None of them stack. You can put them all right next to each other and there's no issue. The reason for that is because if they are stackable with each other, then it's possible that when they dispense out of here, they will kind of group up and then they'll go inside of the same hopper rather than being in separate hoppers. I actually, now that I think about it, I don't think that it's very common for that to happen with the powdered snow configuration. But up top here, when they're resting on the trapdoors for a second before they go in, that is a very real risk. So same thing, I actually do have that set up here, where I have granite in this one, diorite in this one, and granite in this one. Totally fine if they're stackable items, just make sure that they're alternating so that they don't accidentally stack up with the one next to them. And so, yeah, so filling up, you want to fill up 1 item per row in these droppers. You want to fill up at least 2 items. I just threw in, I think it was like half a stack or a stack in each of these ones per slice. Same thing with the ones up top here. So fill in this one, fill in this one. So do that for every slice. And then for the reference channel, you want to do the same thing. Fill in this one, and then fill in this one. There are more droppers when you're doing all the redstone back here. There's a whole row of them right here. And there's a couple here. These ones are just used to read redstone signal. So there's nothing in them. Don't worry about it. You don't have to fill them. And then for these 3 barrels, they do need specific configuration because that's how they check and see if it's the right signal going through for the combination lock. So for this furthest one, you have 24 stacks, 26 stacks in the middle, 28 stacks in the last one. That's the same for every station. Don't need to change it at all. And those should be always configured that way so that when you get the correct ordering on those 3, it activates your stasis chamber. Now, someone in the comments asked if you could use this in the end or the nether. Unfortunately, because of the way daylight sensors work, you cannot, because you need a daylight sensor to sync up the transmitter and the receiver. They don't work in those dimensions, so unfortunately you can't use those. I think theoretically, if you had a way to get a global sync in those dimensions, you could set something up like this. But I think even then it would still only work within that dimension. So you could set up like multiple ones in the nether or multiple ones in the end, but you couldn't go cross-dimensionally. I think that's because of the way that items are processed by the game. It's per dimension, so it wouldn't actually be able to read across dimensions anyway. However, in my single-player world, my main storage is in the end dimension, so I do find myself teleporting there a lot. So I do have a way to get there. It just doesn't work quite the same as the rest. So basically what you do is same thing on the receiving end, 3 channels with the reference, combination lock. But instead of activating a stasis chamber, it just activates a dropper that puts an item through. And then I have a whole system on the other end of this portal that I'll show you in a second. Unlike the other ones, you're not using a stasis chamber here. However, you do still need this area to be chunk loaded for the items that are getting dispensed. So you do still need an ender pearl here. Or if you want to use another traditional chunk loader, you can do that as well. I just find the ender pearl to be easier. So you do still need to make sure that these are in the same chunk. The build is smaller than a chunk than it was last time, so you do have a lot more wiggle room. But you do still need to make sure that the pearl is in the same chunk as these dispensers. So this one's set up for the cyan channel. So let's go over to our transmitter and just activate the cyan channel. One unfortunate thing about this is a little bit slower than our old transmitter. I think it's around like 15 seconds or so, but it still works. I think it's one of the two main downsides of this one. I'll get to the other downside in a little bit. But yeah, so you have this on your end side of things to teleport here. Basically, all you have is a block, observer, and a trapdoor set up to stasis chamber. The way that this works is anytime a player or entity enters the end, this like 5x5x3 area all gets turned into items. So this cobblestone that's here will kind of just break into item form instantly whenever whenever that dropper chucks a redstone in here. The observer sees that change, activates, and then you're good. Now, if you want, you can just take that cobblestone, place it back before you do your ender pearl, and you're good. It's reset. You can do that every time. I'm lazy, so what I do, and I have this set up on my single player world as well, I have a cobblestone generator hooked up to a hopper clock. 3 items inside here is the sink for it. So whenever the cobblestone gets broken by the platform resetting, it just pushes another cobblestone back in place. It's farther out here because if you have it any closer, then it'll just keep extending, and then the observer will check every single time it extends. So you kind of have to have it this far away. I'll have a schematic for this as well if you want. It's kind of unnecessary. Again, you can just place it back here, but I'm lazy. I like it to auto reset for me. And then I even have a system under here where there's actually hopper minecarts in the obsidian in these platforms with hoppers underneath. So the item that gets dispensed as well as the cobblestone that gets broken just get collected in this barrel, and you can pick it up later if you want. So back in the overworld, I'll just do a quick demonstration. So if I open up a minimap mod here, this is all where we have old station, different variations, end version. This is red station. In the north, I have orange station. In the south, I have yellow station. And in the east, I have lime station. So let's just go ahead, and they're all about 2,000 blocks away from spawn. Let's just, as an example, make sure that they all work. So 2 pulses there, 2 pulses there, and then 2 pulses there. And now we're at orange station. So you're 2,000 blocks north. Let's go to yellow station. So now we're going to be going about 4,000 blocks south of where we are currently. Again, it takes a little bit longer than the old system, but I think the trade-off for how small it is worth it. Looking at the map, yep, we're about 4,000 blocks away from where we just were. Let's go lime. Now we're just going fully diagonal over to here. There we go. Map to check it. Yep. And then back to red station where spawn is. Now I said before there's 2 main drawbacks to this. The first one is just that it takes a little bit longer. The main reason for that is because with the way that the new protocol works, you need to send 2 pulses for each of these. So it's not just 1, 1, 1. It's now 2, 2, 2. So it just takes a little bit longer. The other downside, and it took me about 4 hours to actually fix this issue when I found it, is that this is now directional. So it has to be facing north when you make it. The reason for that is because the receiver has been changed compared to the old version. The old version was not directional. The new one, for some reason, these pistons here are all updating this rail in a very specific order. If you have it in a different orientation, sometimes, and not all the time, sometimes, it wasn't even based off of like chunk regions or anything, because I had them all lined up to this chunk in the same spot. I set up 5 stations. 2 of them, for some reason, were doing this. This specific piston right here, the sticky piston, was getting butted by the rail before it was supposed to go off. So it just wasn't receiving signal when it was supposed to a bunch of the time. That was a pain. Took me like 4 or 5 hours to actually figure out what was going on and how to fix it. But now that I figured out what's going on with it. Just make sure it's facing north, and it works every single time. So directionality and length are the only two drawbacks of the system. Otherwise, the size is way smaller. It's way easier to build. And you have way more options for stations now. 13 used to be the limit, now it's 57. Alright, so now I'm going to show you how to set up another station. So let's set up a green station far in the west. So it's like the only direction we haven't gone to yet. So let me just do TP. What is west? Negative 2,000. Way out here. Brand new area, hasn't been loaded yet. Let me get in tool, load schematic, station V2. And we've got to make sure that this is not necessarily super chunk aligned, but just make sure that the Pearl is in the same chunk as these. There we go. Let's chunk align, paste it in. We're going with the green station. So let's do, again, there's a book here, set it up. Only one line that you have to change now. 2C3, 1, 2, 4. So that means a 2-tick. Comparator, 3-tick. I forgot it. 1, 2, 4. 1 tick, 2, and 4. So this should now be set up for green station. Go ahead and turn it on. Once it gets up and going here, let's go ahead and activate green and see if it's good. Looks like I've activated. There we go. And that's all you have to do to configure it now. It is significantly easier than it used to be. Anyways, that's the whole video. I should have schematics in the description for the 1 chunk version, 2 chunk, 3 chunk, 4 chunk, as well as the end portal design and the stasis chamber on the end side of things as well. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment. I'm again going to be leaving descriptions to cubicmetre's videos as well as redth's video to explain how both the wireless system and the combination lock work, because these aren't necessarily my own inventions. It's just conceptually I'm putting a bunch of different ideas together so that they work on single player, whereas previously the wireless only worked on multiplayer. Thanks for watching.